Hey everybody, Scout Crafty here again. It's Wednesday. We had a great response to Monday's video with the Black & Decker drill. You all seem to like that. I promised you that I would show you a full take apart of a normal Black & Decker old-fashioned drill and a refurbished service. So let's get right to it. Now this would be an entry-level Black & Decker. You can see Handy Electric Fix-It Kit or Fix Kit. And it came, this was, like I said, mid-50s, because they had this nice blue case, which has been a little worse for wear. But we're going to try and save this, because we want to keep the original finish on here. But let me show you what it looked like. They were nicely made cases, heavy-duty. Let's open that up here. And look at the nice graphics. Let me get you down here. Look at the nice graphics that were on here. And the reason that they had that is because a hardware store could take this particular unit, put it in their window just like this, and it would sell itself. Ingenious, right? It had, you know, the backhand. This was just a cardboard, but they put it in there. It told the features, has the gear. This one has the geared chuck. It came with the arbor, at which you could put different, this is a grinding stone, came with a buffing wheel, things like that, and of course, the heart of it, it came with the drill. And of course, it came with information booklet on how you could use it, guarantee. And this one here is a little bit oil soaked, but you can see what kind of condition this drill is in. We'll take a look at that. Now, this drill is in the type of condition that you would find in so many, you know, this is the way you would find them. Now, they had different types of drills. They had different types of casings. You can see here, this one here is the No.100 1/4-inch drill. And you can see the RPM was 2,000 RPM. A little bit fast for most drilling operations, but perfect RPMs for stationary use, and we'll get into that later. But I told you that we would take one of these drills and I would show you how to recondition a drill like this. You can see here, we got a little issue here. You see that cord? That cord, this is very common, right? After the strain relief, the cords would constantly break and they would tape them up, which is common. But you could also see that this cord is cracking, and, you know, but I'm sure the drill works. In fact, we'll plug it in. Okay, we'll plug it in, and just to make sure it does work before I start on it. Now, the reason, anytime we're going to try something sketchy like this, again, I'm using John Fix's ground fault circuit interrupter, just in case there's a problem, but I doubt there will be. And, of course, a rubber glove, so. Okay, it sounds a little weak, but it is working. Let's take it apart. Now, 90% of the problems, a lot of people say, oh, I used to get shocked with this, and my uncle had one of a shock. Probably 99% of your problems with these drills, when people used to get shocked, was because there was a problem at the outlet. Okay, I've been using these my whole life, never got shocked because, well, thank God my outlets are all correct. But a lot of times with people that rewire outlets or even extension cords, they get twisted, they get turned around. You might have a open hot or an open ground or whatever here, an open neutral, and you ever see one of these before? This is worth its weight in gold. You know, they sell these on Amazon, things like that, very inexpensive. And what this will check your outlet to make sure that everything's in snuff, and even an extension cord. When you plug it in, there's LEDs, or I don't think they're LEDs, they're neon maybe, but they'll light up and they'll show you if it's correct or not. And let me show you what I mean. I'm going to plug it into my extension cord. Okay, here's my extension cord. I'm going to plug this into the extension cord here, and you see these two lights lighting up here on the bottom. Now, if you look here, it has a little schematic. It tells you if there's three lights. If the two on the right light up and the one is dark on the left, that's correct. Now, if it would have been two on the left and this one, it would have been a hot, and your neutral is reversed. Do you understand? So it tells you what's wrong. You got to get one of these. Inexpensive. Check your outlets. It's always good to know. Very cheap. Perfect little device. Our first task is we're going to remove the cord. Okay, cut the cord off. That's always that's a very satisfying operation, isn't it? Cutting a bad cord off or something. Okay, so now we're going to, and now we want to remove the chuck. I'm going to show you how to remove a chuck from a drill like this. Okay. Now this is why you save your old deck hex keys. You know, you throw anything away. So you put your old hex key in here like this, right? And you tighten up the chuck on this hex key here. Okay, you use the chuck key here. We're going to tighten it up on the hex key. When you have it tight, we're going to put this on the end of the bench. We're going to spin this around, and we're going to tap this with a wooden mallet. I use a wooden mallet, but you can use rubber or whatever. And it's counterclockwise, and it should spin off. So let's try that. Get the mallet. Now, there aren't too many times that I use this wooden mallet is what I use for this. Okay, so get it down here. We're going to give it a sharp tap. You have this against the edge, and you're holding this with your hand like this. It might take a couple times. Well, actually, it didn't take a couple times. One time, and you see how quickly and easily that comes off, and that's how you remove the chuck. Now, the first thing we're going to do is take off the geared housing. This is where the gears are in here, and we're going to remove these screws. Now, you want to get a screwdriver. See the regular slotted screws here. You want to get a screwdriver that has minimal play, okay? Like this one here has minimal play on there, and you don't want to use too small of a screwdriver and cam out of it. So we'll use this here. And this is a ratcheting screwdriver, but there we go. You could see these are like a Phillips head, so they're very, very good as far as not... this one looks like it might have been torqued. You see that? When you look at that and you see that, it might have been opened up before, so keep that in mind. Okay, remember I was telling you that a lot of times, now you see this is a higher section up here, so that is going to be a longer bolt than this one down here. So there's only 3. Those 2 are the same, but this one's different. So you always got to remember that. Keep that in a mental note. Now, when you pull this apart here, okay, there's this intermediate piece. All your gears and grease is going to be in the front here. So try and pull this off like this, okay, in one piece. Now, everything in here is going to be all your gears, and I'll show you. It's going to be all mucky grease, you see? And we'll talk about that in a minute. But you see that? That grease, it's now... I know what you're saying, oh, that grease looks bad. It's not, because once that grease heats up, it liquefies like we talked about last time. But right now, we'll clean that out later, but you take this as a separate part altogether, and then we'll remove that other part. Okay, now, with this off here, you could pull the armature straight out, and you'll hear the 2 brushes click at the bottom here, but there you go. There's the armature. Pull that straight out like that. That looks in good shape. There's the 2 brushes in there. The brushes, well, first we're going to have to take this handle, but you see the 2 brushes in there, and again, that bushing. And here's the stator, okay? So everything looks good. Not too much dirt in here. We'll clean it all out, okay? Though. We loosened these 2 screws up on the handle here. We're going to pull them out slowly and look at them, make sure they're identical, okay? So you don't have to worry about mixing these up. That'll be over here for the handle. And then we're going to pull this off slowly to make sure that no springs or anything detach or whatever. Okay, now you can see we have the wires attached to that back there. Okay, so that's giving us a little resistance. But this is here is where your brushes and everything is housed. But you see, that's where your wires go in, and it's in with the switch. So we're going to have to take this one smaller screw out here, and that will release the switch housing, and then that should all pull out. And again, all these are coming off very easily. We haven't had any difficulty with getting these screws out, but this holds the screw, this holds the switch in. The switch will come out like this. It's attached to that wire. Again, you're looking, making sure that no washers pop out or anything. You could take a look in there. You can see what we have. And now we'll just take this apart. We'll cut that because, again, we're going to put in new wires. Okay, now we're going to cut this. This little rubber piece is going to hold that in. So we're going to cut it here, okay, because we don't want that hold in. We're going to push that through with a screwdriver this way, okay? And there we go. Now it's out. Now you can see there's a little strain relief. You see that? That's a wire... kind of a, it's kind of a makeshift strain release so that that wire doesn't pull through the casing. But that's interesting. I haven't seen that before. Now you can see the wire here. This is cracked, dried wire, but there's nothing wrong with the switch. Looks good, and you can see here what this is. Obviously, how they put it. They didn't. It was no solder here, which is interesting. Just a wire, twist wire that goes to here. So. Very interesting. We'll take this apart. Now we have the main body over here. Now this piece is just laid in here just gently. You could pull that out with one finger. You could see. Put that there. And then there's 2 screws that hold on that stator. Okay, now it's time to remove the brushes, and what's very important to remember when taking the brushes off, first you have the brush cap that just covers it here. That'll come out 1, 2, 3. And there's a little spring here that you have to pull out, and the brush will be there. You have to get the orientation of the brush and which way it goes in, because you don't want to change them around. That'll make all the difference in the world if you're putting it back together. So make sure you take it out, remember which way the curve goes, and place it and mark it on a piece of paper. Okay, once we have the top and the bottom brushes out there, then the last thing you have to do is there's these little coil springs here that wrap around the brush bottom. You just have to, pull them off here. They flip right off. Okay, and when they do, you could see they fit around. You're going to be able to pull out the stator. Okay, so there, just pulled off here, and you have this kind of a washer here that goes between it, so don't lose that. Okay, so you do it on both of these. Okay, just pull that up, and then this will be able to pull straight out. The stator here will pull straight out. Again, keep the orientation right, because the wires have to go through the bottom, but that's it. That's all there is to it. Now you could clean this out. Remember, the wires go up through the bottom. Those washers stay there. And it's always good to don't be afraid to videotape yourself doing this so you forget it. Now all you have to do is basically clean everything up. Don't disrupt too many things, but you're going to use a cleaner. You could use a kerosene. You could use mineral spirits, whatever. Just get rid of all the grease, the dirt, and then I'll be back. Now here it's just a matter of taking one piece at a time. Here we have our ice cream stick that we cut down and just pulling the grease out. Can you see that? You just hit here, and you're going to get most of the grease out with this first. Don't try and use solvents first. First use a stick to get all this heavy grease out, because you're just going to make your solvent dirty first, So get all the grease you can out with this stick. Then when it's at that point there, where you have most of it out, then you could go in there with your rags and your solvent. You can use 50/50, which is the automatic transmission fluid, and acetone makes a fantastic cleaner. And then just get all this out of here and until everything is nice and sparkly. Now, using Q-tips and toothpicks and whatever you have to, don't go crazy, because, this is never going to be seen again. But, get it nice and clean, get all that dirt out of there, everything cleaned up, and do that with every single part. This is the stator. You want to be kind of gentle with this, because it is covered. This whole thing is covered with varnish. So anytime you see this like that, you think it's grease. It's not. It's varnish. The only thing you should clean this with is a light WD-40. Just put some on some paper towel, wipe it off. It doesn't need to be super clean. That's perfectly fine. Clean off the wires and obviously the contact wires here. We're going to clean that real good, and that's it. Do not put any solvents on here. You don't want to dissolve that varnish. That's what keeps them from shorting out. Now, the same thing when you work in here with your armature. You got to make sure you clean it very lightly. And you see what I do here with the commutator? You see how beautiful that looks? Well, what I did, I don't like to sand, grind, especially when this has very low hours, and I'll show you by the brushes. So there's no sense in taking that down. As long as this is very smooth, it was darkened before, and what I use to take off any staining, I use a little Noxon metal polish and a Q-tip. I took all that off, and then I wipe it down with a little mineral spirits, and look at how beautiful that looks, right? And then just make sure you get all in between the grooves. Make sure there's nothing that could short out in between there, and Bob's your uncle. Now, we're going to be cleaning this grease out. Now, you'll hear a lot of people on YouTube, always downplaying, go, oh, look at it, it looks like mud. Let me tell you something. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this grease. The only problem with this grease is it gets contaminated with sawdust and things like that you use the drill for. Other than that, this grease is fine. And as you saw when we heated it up the other day, this will melt, and that's why they put a big glob in there. But we're going to take it out just for the reason that it's dirty. But don't think that this wouldn't have worked. I mean, they used that grease. It was good for 100 years. Okay, now everything is all cleaned up. We took it from the dirty side, bring it over to the clean side. As you clean it, you put the parts over here, lay them out so that you won't forget where they go. You can go nuts on the inside here, but there's no reason, because it's going to be repacked with grease and everything. So just get it so that there's no dirt, no grease. Now, if you want to polish the case, this is the time you would do it, because, it's obviously you have a lot more access to it. You could polish up the case, but we have everything apart, cleaned everything, the switch, everything is absolutely clean. Now all we have to do is we're going to put a new cord in, obviously. That's the only thing we're going to change for it. And then we're going to repack this with grease and put it back together slowly. Okay, now this drill has been fully serviced. It's all greased. We use the white Super Loop synthetic grease all over to inside and out. And now we have the new plug in here. We used a grounded plug, grounded to the chassis through this screw here on the inside using a solderless connector. It's runs good. Let me try it out for you. There we go. We don't have to worry anymore. Sounds beautiful. It's a nice quiet drill, lightweight. Now, next week we're going to address the case, and we're going to address the kit that it came in, along with some other kits, some other home utility kits. Okay, so in closing, I'm sorry I sound a little bit rushed. I know it's going a little bit late, but on Friday, we'll cover the rest of the home utility kits and things like that from the 50s, and I have a few extra ones to show you, and we'll go through the different styles and accessories, and I think it'll be a great episode. So hope you have a great day. Take care now. Bye-bye.